Using the racing line is the fastest way around the track, right? Right? Well, maybe, because using the racing line might actually be slowing you down. Here's why. When you come across a completely flat out corner when you're racing, you need to change how you drive, especially in these low-powered rental go-karts. Taking the normal racing line allows you to carry the most speed through a corner, but it also means that you cover lots of extra distance. If you can comfortably take the corner flat with a narrower line, then you're able to maintain the same speed, but you decrease the distance which you travel, which means faster lap times. And that's how. Every time you overtake in a go-kart, you will lose time. And if you don't overtake in pairs, you are probably a slow driver. Here's why. When you overtake, you have to outposition your opponent, but this requires planning, and battling will cost you time. Instead, you can follow the kart ahead of you. When they go for a move, naturally a gap will open and you can dive your kart into that gap and follow them through so that you can both overtake with minimal time loss. That's why threshold braking is the fastest way to slow down a rental kart, and if you don't threshold brake, you're probably a slow driver. Here's why. The braking threshold is the braking pressure required to lock up the wheels. When you're rental karting, it's important to preserve momentum, and threshold braking lets you do this. Press the brakes just hard enough to reach the threshold of lockup, and once you start feeling the rear of the kart lock up and start to rotate, immediately get off the brakes and back onto the throttle to power out with slip angle. By using the micro lockup, you induce rotation and carry more momentum, which is why slip angle is a complicated technique in go-karts which is critical for allowing you to maintain momentum through the corner. Here's how. Slip angle is the difference between the direction your wheels are pointing and the direction your kart is traveling. And this video shows Carlos Sainz abusing slip angle to turn whilst barely steering at all. To use slip angle, start by initiating a little slide with a sharp steering input to induce rotation in the kart. Then, immediately apply the throttle to maintain the angle of slip and carry your momentum. But don't overcook slip angle. If you have to countersteer much more than 15 degrees, you're using too much and you'll lose momentum. That's why. Do you know how to use banked corners to overtake in a go-kart? Because the racing line might actually be slowing you down. When a corner's banked, it increases the minimum speed you can carry through the corner. But there are lots of different ways that you can attack banked turns. You could take a high line around the top of the banking and carry more speed throughout the turn, or you can take a low line which will minimize your distance. You have to find the right balance for the corner and the kart you're driving. But at this track, a low line is faster, which means you can capitalize on the banking and still use the high line to send big overtakes that would have been impossible otherwise. Subscribe for more rental karting tips. Apply these 3 tips to learn new karting tracks in no time. Firstly, on your outlap, try to identify the racing line for each corner, and make a note if there's a long straight after the corner like this, which you want to prioritize the exit for and take a late apex. Secondly, identify if you need to brake for any corners and decide on a clear braking reference to help your consistency, like this light. Tip 3 is to note any strange features on the track. That might be a changing track surface or these banked sections here. Keep analyzing your performance each lap and have fun. That's how you can. This is a completely serious interpretation of the racing flags. Green flag means time to send it. Yellow flag, somebody sent it too hard. Double yellow flag, somebody sent it way too hard. Red flag, someone sent it so hard that they had to stop the session. Black flag, you sent it too hard and now the stewards want to chat with you. Naughty naughty. Checkered flag, your time to send it is over. Meatball flag, you sent it so hard that you broke your kart. Striped flag, it's so slippery that if you send it, you'll spin it. Penalty, you sent it in an unsportsmanlike way, not on. Like and sub for more racing content. I've got permanent scars on my back from go-karting. Please don't end up like me by using this revolutionary life hack. In all seriousness, karting is brutal for your back, so here's the tip.
Make sure you grab a cushion, people.
This might sound painfully obvious, but if you're a really narrow person, it will help to fill out the seat so that you don't slide around. and it's going to help protect your spine from bumps and vibrations, which is why if you don't catch slides like this, you're probably losing time. Let me explain. Oversteer can be super daunting, especially when it's wet, and if you're inexperienced, it's natural to tense up. But this is going to cause you to make rigid and sharp movements, which are just going to hurt your lap time. To catch slides like a pro, relax your grip on the steering wheel and release the tension from your shoulders. Look through the corner, not at the wall that you're sliding towards, and just let the car correct itself, gently guiding the wheel in the right direction, not forcing it. That's why this driver got black flagged rental karting by doing something I've never seen in a decade of racing. Just watch as the craziness unfolds. This is just straight up dangerous. Please never do this when you're racing. And right here, for some reason, he decides to drive up the wrong direction of the track, immediately red flagging the session and getting DQ'd. Comment the most bizarre thing you've ever seen whilst go-karting. And that's how. Become the master of racecraft by using this overtaking technique. A dive bomb or a slipstream might get the job done, but both lack the technique and flair of the switchback. Switchbacks are one of the most satisfying moves to pull off, especially when your opponents are defending. To do this, start by forcing your opponent to get out of position or defend for a corner. Then, sacrifice your corner entry by taking a wider entry or braking slightly earlier. Aim for a late apex to power out of the corner, and when your opponent drifts away from the apex, dive up the inside to claim track position. But timing is critical, so carefully time your momentum so that you don't do this.